1972, and during the following years to date I've visited literally hundreds of universities and colleges all around India and around this region, and I've met thousands of students, so I appreciate the opportunity to present to you today some of my experiences and my observations. We started off actually by being involved in sending students abroad directly, so that in the early days we would have relationships with universities and colleges abroad, and we would match students to those universities and colleges. So typically a student would finish their 12th standard, or more often their graduation here in India. When they finished that, they would go along to an education agent. They would select a country and a course. They would get an offer letter. They would get a visa. Sometimes they would not get a visa, of course. And they would jump on an aeroplane and they would land in a new country. And in speaking to thousands of students over the years, the primary motivation for nearly every student going abroad is to have the opportunity to get permanent residency in the country abroad. It's very unusual to find a student who is actually focused on going abroad and coming back. So up until maybe 2 years ago, when the economic recession really hit hard, this was not really a problem. You could virtually send a student to any country on virtually any course, and you could be confident that that student would have a successful outcome and meet their objective. Very seldom would students return to India. They would find ways and means of settling down in the country abroad. However, in the last 2 years, we've been meeting increasingly students that can't achieve that objective. And the major reason for that is that if you want to settle down abroad, you have to have a job. And of course, with high unemployment, and earlier today we heard some of those horrific figures, I think from memory, even over 20% in the 16 to 24-year-old age category in some of the countries. High unemployment means how on earth can a student from India be confident of getting a job abroad and settling down? So we've been increasingly meeting students coming back who subsequently look for other country options so that they can try and meet their objective. Because of this situation, we thought that we would have a look at what better opportunities can we provide students to give them more confidence and more ability to settle down abroad, to have their overseas education and settle down. And we came across the Foreign Education Bill, which has been sitting in draft format for some time. Now, this bill will enable foreign universities to come to India, but actually it won't enable them to repatriate their profits. So foreign universities are going to come to India for sure, and they will cooperate, and they will not compete with Indian universities, because they're not going to invest in land and bricks and mortar if they can't repatriate their profits. So when I go to colleges and universities these days, I give the message that you will be cooperating. In 5 years' time, for sure you'll be cooperating, because these foreign universities and colleges are going to come to India for sure, and they'll be seeking partnerships. And you should have a look at what partnership opportunities are available now, because for sure, if you want to keep up, you'll need to have these cooperation arrangements in the future. Now, there are already a number, and an increasing number, of cooperation arrangements in India. There's really two types. One is the twinning type, where the student will do some study here and then complete their studies abroad and receive a foreign qualification. And then more recently is the dual degree scenario. The dual degree scenario is favoured by Indian colleges and universities because it adds a lot of credibility to to their infrastructure and their good name. Foreign universities tend to, in my experience anyway, favour the twinning approach because it's better that they receive the student. Economically, obviously, if they have the student on campus to complete the program, it's better for them. Now, it is a fact of life that mostly these twinning arrangements in particular have not worked. And the major reason why I've seen that they haven't worked is that they haven't got the pricing right. If a twinning arrangement is to work, the student and their families expect a good reduction in the overall cost of the qualification. And that to date has not been necessarily coming through with the current twinning arrangements. Second thing is that what happens if the student doesn't get a visa? So, you know, I have a twinning arrangement, I study here 1 year, I study 2 years abroad. What happens at the end of the first year, I don't get a visa, and there's not an agreement that the following 2 years can be completed here. The third thing is the ARCTE issue. I mean, so many times I've been to colleges and universities and the principal pulls out this huge, great, thick book and says, look, in here I don't think they like this sort of arrangement. And it's true, because a lot of particularly colleges are offering qualifications under the auspices of universities here, and that the arrangement will not allow them to offer another degree. And another thing that I strike very often is that when we're talking about potential cooperation twinning arrangements, is that it's really out of the comfort zone of a lot of the more senior people within the colleges and universities. So actually, we try to do the top-down approach, speak to the principal of the owner, because if you take the bottom-up approach, it generally speaking doesn't go anywhere. Now, why can these programs, these twinning arrangements, be valuable for students? Well, there are 5 major reasons in my view. First of all, you can prepare the student for the study in the foreign country. You can spend time with the student to make them more knowledgeable about the destination. Obviously, you can give them a reduced overall cost of the qualification. The student has more information on which to make the decision of which is a major expense if you're going to study abroad. Students travel in a group, which provides valuable support. It's very important, and I think the expression was used just earlier about foundation and functional skills. If a student finishes a qualification in India and jumps on an aeroplane and goes abroad, you know, they probably they're at a severe disadvantage. They probably have a very poor CV, they have very poor job interview skills. Their ability to get a part-time job and a full-time job after they study is severely limited. They probably don't even know how to shake a hand properly, you know, when they go to the job interview. So you can prepare the student much more favourably for their study abroad through the twinning process. Also, the twinning process can be very valuable for the Indian provider. It can increase the number of students, or they could retain their existing students for a long period. For example, if a university is offering undergraduate programs and they have a twinning for a master's program, they can keep the student for a longer period of time. Obviously, if you're looking at reputable universities and colleges abroad, it adds to the reputation of the local institution. Students will study abroad anyway. I mean, you can't go to a university or college in India where not any of those students are going to go abroad. And all of the colleges and universities have job placement officers. Their reputation depends on the job placement officer to allow